Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rechak Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into Ezekiel, the 48th chapter, and this is pretty much the last chapter in the book of Ezekiel. Okay, and in this chapter, it goes into continuation of Ezekiel's vision, but it goes into the division of the land, which part would be reserved as holy, which part would be for the priests, which part would be for the different tribes, and so on and so forth. Now, let's get into it. All right, this is Ezekiel chapter 48, verse 1. Now these are the names of the tribes from the north end to the coast of the way of Hethlon, as one goeth to Hamath, Hazaranan, the border of Damascus northward, to the coast of Hamath. For these are his sides, east and west, a portion for Dan. And by the border of Dan, from the east side on to the west side, a portion for Asher. And by the border of Asher, from the east side even on to the west side, a portion for Naphtali. And by the border of Naphtali, from the east side onto the west side, a portion for Manasseh. And I just typed in here Ezekiel 48 map, and this is like sort of like a visual here. So you have the upper border, and when it mentions the border of, for example, Dan, from the east side to the west side, sort of like this is referring to like the southern border. Then you had this tribe, then this tribe, then this tribe, and so on. So verse 5, and by the border of Manasseh, from the east side onto the west side, a portion for Ephraim. And by the border of Ephraim, from the east side onto the west side, or even onto the west side, a portion for Reuben. And by the border of Reuben, from the east side onto the west side, a portion for Judah. And by the border of Judah, from the east side onto the west side, shall be the offering which ye shall offer of 25,000 reeds in breadth and in length as one of the other parts, from the east side onto the west side, and the sanctuary shall be in the midst of it. So on the border of Judah, you would have, like they've shown here, a certain measurement, like we just read, that would be set up as an offering to the Lord, meaning this part would be like a holy place. All right. And within it, in the center, you would have the temple. Okay. Verse 9, the oblation that ye shall offer unto the Lord Yahweh, which oblation here just goes into like an offering, and it's referring to that land, shall be of 25,000 in length, which is 25,000, and of 10,000 in breadth. And for them, even for the priests, shall be this holy oblation. Toward the north, 25,000 in length, and toward the west, 10,000 in breadth. And toward the east, 10,000 in breadth, and toward the south, 25,000 in length. And the sanctuary of the Lord shall be in the midst thereof. So you'd have the holy land, right? The portion here, which would be holy, and you would have the temple in the midst of it. And then you would have, a part of this area would be allocated for the priests. Verse 11, it shall be for the priests that sanctified of the sons, or that are sanctified of the sons of Zadok, which have kept my charge, and went not astray when the children of Israel went astray, as the Levites went astray. And in a couple of chapters before, when we read, the Lord mentioned how, when Israel went off, you had some of the Levites that joined with them and went off with them, but you also had some of the Levites that remained loyal to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and therefore those that went off would bear their iniquity. So the Lord is making that distinction here as well. Verse 12, and this oblation of the land that is offered shall be unto them a thing most holy by the border of the Levites. See, so this land would be considered most holy. It'd be a holy sanctified area. Okay, as it says, by the border of the Levites. And over against the border of the priests, the Levites shall have 25,000 in length, and 10,000 in breadth. In the length shall be 25,000, and the breadth 10,000. So the sons of Zadok would have their portion, and then bordered against that, you would have the land for the priests. Okay. Or for the Levites, Salakia. So verse 14, and they shall not sell of it, neither exchange, nor alienate the first fruits of the land, for it is holy unto the Lord. So the first fruits we know are when you farm, the harvest time, the first batch of crops. So the Lord is saying here, you can't sell that land. You cannot trade it. You can't leave it for somebody else. Obviously save as an inheritance for your descendants. Okay, because it is holy unto the Lord. Verse 15, and the 5,000 that are left in the breadth over against the 25,000 shall be a profane place for the city, for dwelling, and for suburbs, and the city shall be in the midst thereof. And profane here meaning common, all right, or without, so that there will be a certain area that will be a common place where you can have the cities there, people can dwell there, it can just be plain land and so on. Verse 16, and these shall be the measures thereof: the north side 4,500, and the south side 4,500, and on the east side 4,500, and the west side 4,500. And the suburbs of the city shall be toward the north 250, and toward the south 250, and toward the east 250, and toward the west 250. And here the suburbs are like the land, the plain land. And the residue in length over against the oblation of the holy portion shall be 10,000 eastward, and 10,000 westward. And it shall be over against the oblation of the holy portion. Remember, when it keeps talking about the oblation, it's talking about this portion of land, right, that has been set apart, to be holy, to be offered to the Lord. Okay. It shall be over against the oblation of the holy portion, and the increase thereof shall be for food unto them that serve the city. So there's the residue, right? A certain portion of this land would be, like plain land that could be used for farming, and whatever food or crops would come of it. The people that dwell and abide in the city would be able to have that. And they that serve the city shall serve it out of all the tribes of Israel. So basically, anybody that is dwelling in that region of any of the tribes could be able to farm that land and utilize it. Okay, it says all the oblation. So basically, this portion here has been divided up. There's a certain portion for the Levites, for the priests, for the temple, for the suburbs, where the people of the city within this region could plant and reap and so on and so forth of that area. So here you can see a key right here. You have a city of Jerusalem, Levites portion, prince's portion, which we're going to go into, the sanctuary, the priests, the sons of Zadok, right around here, and area for food for the city workers, which would be these areas here. All right, it says here, verse 20, all the oblation shall be 25,000 by 25,000. Ye shall offer the holy oblation foursquare with the possession of the city. And the residue shall be for the prince on the one side and on the other of the holy oblation, and of the possession of the city over against the 25,000 of the oblation toward the east border, and toward the west over against the 25,000 toward the west border, over against the portions for the prince. And it shall be the holy oblation, and the sanctuary of the house shall be in the midst of it. So going back to this image, which once again, this is just an approximation of a depiction here. You have the west the west side, with the measurements that we just read, and then the east side with the measurements that we just read. Verse 22, moreover, from the possession of the Levites and from the possession of the city, being in the midst of that which is the prince's, which is why they have it in here. Where we at? Between the border of Judah and the border of Benjamin shall be for the prince. So Benjamin is down, Judah is up here, so you can see the different borders up top and the bottom. Verse 23, as for the rest of the tribes, from the east side onto the west side, Benjamin shall have a portion. So now it continues, right? We went from Judah, we went to the portion that would be an oblation to the Lord, the Levites area, the princes area, and then we continue down with Benjamin. And by the border of Benjamin, from the east side onto the west side, Simeon shall have a portion. And by the border of Simeon, from the east side onto the west side, Issachar a portion. And by the border of Issachar, from the east side onto the west side, Zebulun a portion. And by the border of Zebulun, from the east side onto the west side, Gad a portion. And by the border of Gad, at the south side southward, the border shall be even from Tamar onto the waters of strife in Kadesh, and to the river toward the great sea. This is the land which ye shall divide by lot unto the tribes of Israel for inheritance, and these are their portions, saith the Lord Yahweh. And these are the goings out of the city on the north side, 4,500 measures. And the gates of the city shall be after the names of the tribes of Israel, 3 gates northward, 1 gate of Reuben, 1 gate of Judah, 1 gate of Levi. And at the east side, 4,500 and 3 gates, and 1 gate of Joseph, 1 gate of Benjamin, and 1 gate of Dan. And at the south side, 4,500 measures, and 3 gates, 1 gate of Simeon, 1 gate of Issachar, 1 gate of Zebulun. And at the west side, 4,500 with their 3 gates, 1 gate of Gad, 1 gate of Asher, 1 gate of Naphtali. It was round about 18,000 measures, and the name of the city from that day shall be the Lord Yahweh is there. Okay, and this is pretty much a part of, or really the ending of the vision that Ezekiel received, that we just went through. Okay, from what the temple looked like to what the different designs, the measurements, and all of that upward until the division of the land and all of these things that he saw in his vision. And this pretty much ends the book of Ezekiel. Now, as we started, just to bring it all back to keep it in context, we've gone so far through the book of Daniel and the book of Ezekiel, and basically around this time, Israel was under the captivity of the Babylonians. Okay, so everything that has just occurred over here, all the visions Ezekiel received, everything he was saying, he was a captive over there in Babylon as he received these things. Okay, and so Lord willing, if the Spirit permits, I may go into another book pertaining to around the same time period, and just go from there. But Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachah Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.